59 minutes. My name is Levi Connors. This morning we are going to be discussing about matters to do with domestic workers, just shining the spotlight on their rights, their needs, and just to make you have a different perspective of the work that domestic workers do, if you don't already have one. To join me in that conversation is Irene Lima. She is from the Center for Domestic Training Development. She's the Programs Officer. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you here.
Happy to be here. And happy to discuss about domestic workers.
Yeah, and you have a very good story yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a bit about your background.
My background is, I was born in Kitale, raised there. I come from a very humble background. So my parents were not able to take me through high school. So at some point in Form 2, I dropped out. So, dropping out of school, you're just at home, there's peer pressure, there's a lot going on. Looking at your background, you want to be like these other kids, doing well like them. So you fall into so many things. And in that process, I became pregnant. When I was 18, going 19, I got pregnant with my son. So at that point, I felt like for a moment, life just shattered. And it was so dark. My life was just so dark, and I didn't know what next and where next. So I raised my son until when he was 2 years, and at that point I decided, let me get something, because at that point I was just doing some manual jobs in Bani, in the neighborhood, just to try raise something for my child and even my parent, my mom, that time. So I decided to look for a better opportunity, and in Kenya, with no education, you have no connection, you're just a nobody there. The only available option for you will be domestic work. So I connected with my neighbor who connected me to her sister here in Nairobi, and she got me a job here in Nairobi. It was my first time in Nairobi, so I was excited and at the same time afraid. But I said, let me take the chance, because I wanted to better my life and the life of my son mostly, because I was thinking, now he's 2, he'll be going to school. Now what next? How? What do I want for him? Let me try get him something better. So I got this job at Imara Daima, and I came, and I was excited. But one thing I always tell people is that domestic work is a good job if you enjoy and love it, but it comes with its own share of challenges. Considering I was just from Ushago, I wasn't used to these modern houses and everything in it. So it came up with so much confusion that you kept going round and round, not knowing what to do at what time. So it was a bit of chaotic, but I adjusted, and I think I fit well into that family. So I worked there for some time, and then things didn't work well, things didn't go the way I expected, so I moved on to another job. You see, with domestic work, what happens is, in most cases, we don't have contracts. So you'll be hopping from here to there. You'll be hopping and hopping and hopping. But Ukiambiliwa, today, like there's somewhere else, a better pay, better job, you hop there. So that is how.
And the work can end anytime?
The work can end anytime. That's another thing, by the way. Your boss can decide today, like, hakuna kazi, you are going. Maybe you did something that didn't please her. She will not even give you a notice. Sometimes you'll even be sent packing at night. It's up to you, because I've seen girls who have gone through that. So through that experience and me going back to school at some point, and I did my KCSE when I was 29 years old, and I was a mother of 2 by that time. Wow. So after that, things led into another one, and currently I'm working with the Center for Domestic Training and Development. I'm a project officer there for the Domestic Workers Transformation Program. Wow. And I'm really glad to work with this population of women.
That's good. That's a big transformation from where you are to what you're doing now.
Thank you.
It doesn't really happen for many domestic workers.
Yes.
What was the greatest challenge for you? And what was, let me start by asking you, not even challenge. What really made you think that I can make a difference? Because you could easily have been stuck there for life.
Yes. What made me think that way is I didn't see future in domestic work, and I was bright in school, so I saw myself as a TV presenter when I was growing up. I saw myself as an actor when I was growing up, so I really wanted to live a life. To me, that was not fulfilling, so I wanted to live a fulfilling life, and I thought to myself, I would want to go back to school. And I remember in most cases, I would even talk to my dad and tell him that one day I'll just go back to school. I really want to finish with my high school. So for me, it was about changing my life and just wanting to get out of this. Because again, domestic work in Kenya comes with stigma. It is a job, it's not a job that will be so proud telling people I'm working as I'm a domestic worker because of the issues around it, you know.
Yeah.
It is characterized with poverty, lack of
It
education.
even has some bad names.
Some bad names. You're being called maid, mboch, you see, all those things. So it's not a place you'll be in, I wanted to be in for long, and I wasn't so comfortable in that place. So I was always looking for opportunities and ways for me just to go back to school. And as a domestic work, sometimes you can get that opportunity, but again, this might depends with your mindset and your employer also, because you can be employed in a house where there's this opportunity. Maybe there are no small kids, so you can manage your time well, get some time, go for classes, depending on what you want to do, and then come back. But again, is your employer willing to do that?
Yeah. It takes also someone seeing
something in you, and someone who is ready to empower somebody. Because at my line of duty currently, I'll get a client who will tell me, "Irene, give me somebody who wants to grow. Don't give me somebody who is just set for this job. Give me somebody who desires to be more." And that is the attitude. Do you desire to be more? Then you can be that more. Yeah, for me, that was the case.
It's a very, very good thing. Do you desire to be more? So when you guys are at the Center for Domestic Training and Development, and we talk about transformation, typically what happens? If I was coming as a young lady to your center, what would I expect?
So what you are coming to, when you come to us, what you're expecting is, most of them will just come expecting jobs. Because they're all looking for jobs. Kazi nataka. But it will be, hey, how about first we make you a professional in this area? Because one thing that CDTD is doing is empowering these domestic workers, is promoting their rights. Let's work towards bettering the rights and the working environment for these workers. So you come in, I sit down with you, or my colleagues will. Let's understand, where are you coming from and why are you in this? Why do you want to do this? In most cases, you'll get it's a case of desperation. There is nothing else for me to do. This is the only thing I can do. So from there, it has to start with mindset changing. Let us help you understand what domestic work is. And it's not a bad job. It's a good job, because I've seen people taking their children through this job. I've seen people building houses and their domestic workers. So it's a good job. So we need to work with you the journey. Let us help you understand, because maybe you are fresh in this job, or maybe you've worked before. But even if you've worked before, there's still some things you'd want to work on. So what is domestic work? What are you required? And let us make you a professional. Let us help you understand, get these skills to understand and perform your duties best. Let us teach you to negotiate for better terms, because I will not be always there to negotiate for you. But we want to empower you so that you can negotiate for better terms. You will understand your rights, so that when something goes wrong, again, you are even more assertive to come sit down with the employer and address issues. We do not encourage these things of running away. Something has happened, you just run away. No, you sit down with the employer.
Have some dialogue.
Discuss. Yes, have that conversation. It's important, because sometimes I could be doing something to you, Connors. I don't feel like it's wrong, but it's offending you. It's hurting you. But how about you bring it to understanding? But again, not every employer will be open to that conversation.
True.
Not
it's difficult. I'm wondering, it must be very difficult, because when you talk about training how to work, and there is a presumption that a domestic worker will do anything and everything.
Yes.
From most bosses.
From most bosses.
You don't feel like your trainees could end up being called vichwangumu when they say, in my training,
it happens.
I know this.
But we always say your employer is right. You do things their way. But we equip you with the skills. How to do this, how to do that. But you don't go arguing with your employer. But again, like you said, you're expected to do everything. You're expected to take care of a family of 5. Everybody has their different needs. You are this one person. And maybe you are this one broken person who is carrying everybody's needs on their shoulders. It gets tiresome. Sana. So what we do, when we listen to you, we are able to identify what your strengths are. Because we encourage them. If you're coming to us, maybe you are not strong to handle children. It is okay. Just tell me, hey, Irene, me not Todogo, I cannot handle. Let us place you where you will not struggle. Because if we place you where you do not fit, you'll struggle from
where you can swim.
Yes, you will struggle from day one, and the client will be complaining every day. And there is nothing bad with that, but just be honest enough to tell me, I can handle this age, I can't handle children. I've even gotten people who say, me, I can't handle older children from 13 years going upward. Give me younger children. Some will be, me with children, I cannot. Another one will be like, I'll do best with children. I'll do best where there are no kids. Another one will be like, my strength is maybe in cleaning. So let us try to match your needs with what the employer is looking at, so that you don't get confused, you don't hate your job, you don't underperform. We want you to give your best.
Let's talk about one of the biggest questions in the market right now in terms of domestic work, and that is pay.
Pay.
There is a culture, let me put it, of really paying as low as possible,
yes,
for as much as possible in terms of work.
Yes.
And it's a culture we have, especially with us in Kenya, and I think many African countries.
Yes, yes.
How are you navigating that culture? And when people are listening at home, in fact, I'm pretty sure there are people who call you and they're like, hey, si hao wenu ni
expensive sana.
Yeah. Yes.
That is true.
And considering minimum wage, and also considering that the earnings of Kenyans are not that many anyway.
Yes.
Where do we find the balance?
You see, what happens is, we understand not every Kenyan will be able to pay that minimum wage, but we appreciate those ones who are able to pay. And since we are here to advocate and promote for their rights, then that is to say, if we are speaking here of domestic workers' rights, and at the same time I'm giving you a job, you are being underpaid, then what am I doing?
Yeah. Tell us, by the way, what's the minimum wage? Wale wa kwa nyumbani tusikie vizuri leo.
Oh, minimum wage for domestic workers inakuwa categorized in cities and towns and ushagos.
Let's break it down.
Let's break it down. For the cities, which is Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, the minimum has to be 13,520 shillings. For the towns, now Nakuru town.
Wametema chai.
I know. Kuna mtu saizi I feel like that lady. I know. Somebody says is like, hey, that lady, I don't know what she's doing there, but anyway, we have, it's good to know.
Yes, it's good to know.
It's good to know.
13,520 in cities.
Cities. For the town, it will be 12,500, the difference of 1,000. And then for the Ushago, now it's 7,900 around there. Yeah, for the people who are now working in the rural setup.
Yeah. And that's set by the government of Kenya?
Set by the government of Kenya, not CDTD. Yes, by the government of Kenya.
And yet, even given that, so many domestic workers are falling way short.
Yes. Do you know why, Levi? It's because even most of these domestic workers, they don't know this. They don't know their rights. So how do you claim for what you do not know? That is why we say, for us, it is important for you to go through that training. It is important for you, not only for you to know your rights, but to get the right skills for these jobs. You see, washing clothes is not just washing clothes. There is a proper way of doing it. Cleaning a house is not just cleaning. There's those techniques that you need, those skills that you need, that makes a difference. But then if I give you somebody who is trained today, a non-trained person, you will see the difference. You'll see the difference between the two, yes.
It's
in
like
terms
night
of
and day.
mindset, in terms of performance, you will see that difference. Yeah, so for us, it's about the skills, it's about knowing your rights, and also not only your rights, but remember your employer also has her rights or his rights.
Yeah.
So are you violating your employer's rights? It has to be a balance.
So it's getting to know. So you guys are empowering, educating the domestic worker.
Yes.
Who's empowering, educating the public?
Empowering.
And how are you trying to get them to change their mindset? Because I think it's a two-way traffic.
It is a two-way traffic.
It's terrible if one person knows what their rights are and the person they're supposed to work for is either does not know or is completely aloof to them.
So you see what happens for us, if you are taking a worker from us, we have a conversation. It starts from the phone. We set an appointment. You come for a meeting. You come to meet the workers. But before you take this worker home, there is a contract that you go through it. That contract stipulates all the rights and everything, starting from the salary, their off days, their leave days, everything, just like any other worker. Just like you here and me in my office.
Yes.
So it is the contract is drafted in line with the labor laws of Kenya, Employment Act 207. So it is not something that we sat down and decided this how it should be. No, it's not that way. So if you go through that, you've come through us, then you're also able to understand. And we have a discussion like, do you find anything there that is not in line with the law, it's infringing your rights? Let's discuss about it. And in most cases, we find that there's nothing, because it's the same things we sign for when you're coming for work. And for this other public, for the public at large, we have websites, we have people who are also doing the same job like us, speaking about domestic workers' rights and how it should be. But unfortunately, not everybody will be comfortable listening to such conversations because they have their notion of how a domestic worker should be and how they should be treated.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yet all those people being paid under these wages are doing so illegally.
Yes, so illegally. No contracting.
Every now and then we see a case has gone to court.
Yes, it gets there and it's so unfortunate. But what if you got things straight the first time? Would you go to that extent?
Yeah.
It is cheap, yes, to get this. You'll get somebody maybe who is untrained, they're asking for that little money, but remember, cheap also can become expensive. What are your sources again? Where are you getting these workers from?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are some ugly cases that we wouldn't even want to go into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you draw from your own experience and when you started, how low were you paid?
2,500 was my start, my first salary. 2,500.
And you were completely unaware that things could get better?
I didn't even know that domestic workers have rights at that time. I knew nothing. To me, I knew a domestic worker should be what the employer wants them to be, should do what the employers want them to do. For me, my first job, there was never an off day. I worked Sunday to Sunday. But I didn't know it was wrong until when somebody told me, hey, it doesn't go that way. Yes. Nilichanuliwa.
Let me ask something else also that's quite common is the issue of sexual harassment at work.
Yes.
How rampant is it?
Hey, the issue of sexual harassment, it is high. It's only that domestic workers might not come out to speak about it. It's only that sometimes they don't know where to run to. It's only that sometimes they're even scared of our system, the police system. It's because mdozi ni mkubwa, so utenda wapi. And then there's this other notion of, if a man is doing that to you as a woman, then there has to be something that you did for you to attract this. So you see, such thing, and the issue of stigma, stigma again. So it makes, most of them will be just quiet about it. But it's something that is happening, especially to young domestic workers. It is something that is happening.
So how do you do, when you're doing training?
Yes.
What do you tell how should they carry themselves?
One thing we do, we say in houses, the issue about dressing that always brings up this fire. So what we do for us, we encourage the employer to provide uniform. You see, when I'm wearing a uniform, it's you who have made it. So you won't come telling me, ukifupisha ni wewe, ikiacha cleavage, it's you again. So we start from those basic things. And also we also teach them as women, there are the signs that you can see and you just start feeling like something is not right here. Should it get there, what do you do? Are you able to face your employer lady? Maybe can you start addressing with this man like, hey, I came here to work. I didn't come here for this. Assert yourself. So if it goes beyond that, then you can involve me, you can the office, or involve
I was about to ask you, do you keep tabs? How many people are you working with right now, for example?
I'll say, since we started, it's more than 10,000 workers. But we keep tabs. When I place you levy, it doesn't end there. I would want to know how you are doing, how is the work. So I do after placement, my first checkup will be after 2 weeks. I don't only check on you, but I also check on your boss. Like, how is the lady doing? Is she settling in? Are there struggles? Is there anything maybe we'd want support with? You see, so that is what we do. And then after another 1 month, I'll be calling just to check and see how is the going. Because maybe you could place today and you left the following day. They didn't know. So we do that, we do the phone call.
So you encourage them also to talk to you if they want to leave or change employers?
Exactly. If you feel like the situation here you can't handle, you can't maybe address with your employer, let's talk. let me find a way of talking to employer. If it's something we can address, well and good, continue working. If it comes to a point where we feel like now this one cannot work, we don't just like chomoa you from the client. We have this conversation with the client. This and this is happening. She has tried to take these measures. She's done this, but nothing is changing. So kindly, if you may allow her to leave.
So you've really tried to structure it.
Yes, we are changing the conversation. That's what we are doing, changing the conversation and
There are
the
those who would
narratives.
accuse you that this would be a thing just for the elitist people. Mambo ya wadosi. What would you say?
It's not a knowledge and education and skills is not about mambo ya wadozi. It's for everybody. That is why even for our domestic workers, we don't choose like, well, if you're class 8, you want to work with you. Maybe we work with anybody. And we'll make sure she gets these skills, she or he gets the skills. So you see, it cannot be mambo ya wadozi. It is not bad for somebody to be empowered. But unfortunately, sometimes we fear empowered people. We don't want to work with them. If you hear this person today, you're a worker, I'm talking from this institution, maybe she's part of the Domestic Workers Union, you sack them. Please empower these women.
Yeah.
Empower them.
The domestic tell us a bit about the Domestic Workers Union. What does it agitate for?
Domestic Workers Union, it's Kuvehia. In Kenya, we only have one, Kuvehia. I wouldn't go into details. Yeah, but they advocate for the rights of these workers. Yeah, there's a membership. You take a membership there. Yeah, so we are not a union, but there is a union for domestic workers.
But there's a union, so at least they know out there there's a
they
body
know,
that can...
Yeah, there's a body that they can get themselves involved with when their rights are violated. The union is in the best position to work with you that, but we also support them. Yeah. Yes.
So, if you were to list the list of issues that really burn you, apart from the ones we have discussed about, you know, sexual harassment and wages, what else do you talk to people about?
What else? Is dignity for domestic workers. Are we dignifying these women? Are we treating them like any other worker?
Humanely.
Yes, because that is very important. How you treat this person will even determine how they're performing in their work. I can give you somebody that I've trained and they're very good, but you go destroying them by how you are treating them, you see. There's issue of respect. Do we even teach our children to respect these workers?
That's a good point.
Sometimes we don't. In some households, we don't. A child will speak to them just how they want. Their issue of leave days and off days, do we allow them to rest? There are people like you, remember you work maybe 5-6 days a week. You get your off day. Let them rest. Don't let them burn out, because sometimes it can turn out very ugly. Yeah. So
and they're doing something. You know, I think one of the things that made the news was the story of the domestic worker who harmed a child.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, and there was a lot of vitriol about why she would do that. And I was thinking personally, without kumtetea, I was wondering what the backstory was.
Yes. What is the backstory?
There seemed to be a lot of bitterness in that act.
There seemed to be a lot of bitterness.
You know.
You brought in somebody, you don't know their background. What are they carrying on their shoulders? Why are they even in your house in the first place? And then maybe you do something to them, and it triggers everything. You see, it's not a good act, and we cannot even justify it in any way.
Yes, but I think the point that we're trying to make here is that there's the expectation of what the worker will be like. Yes. And then there's a way we are also supposed to treat the worker. I've seen some workers, you know, who are they eat like dogs. Wasionekane, you know, or the mabakis, or there's a lot of noise about how much they ate.
How much they ate. Sometimes they even deny that food. Yes. Yes. We've seen that.
Or they don't eat the same food as them. They are part of the preparation of the food.
It happens.
So unapata ya familia ni
kuku ni nyama, yangu ni ugali na cabbage. But sometimes we say, let's not be so fussy about food, but please don't give your worker
part of treatment, I think.
It's part of treatment. But again, we always ask the worker, are you going to provide meals for this worker? Ama should she come in knowing her meals is on her? Yeah. They are doing
it's good to be clear.
It's good to be clear. And they are doing, if I'm being paid this amount, will it be enough for me to be buying my own food? You see? Yeah. But it's okay. It's good to try to treat somebody right. Please, your meal. You know, the more unamfichia chakula, the more atataka kukuchukulia kikula without you knowing. So set this person free. Trust me, they'll eat the first week. The second week they'll be like, isn't the sausages? I've even had enough of them already. You see, so give them this freedom. But what we'll tell them is that do not waste. Don't waste. Just eat what you can. And remember, there's tomorrow. There's iyo masaa ingine. Don't eat like it's going to end here and now. No, so don't waste, because these resources are hard to find. Yeah. So if you're going to somebody's house, what I normally tell them, treat everything as if it's your own.
Are things changing, the way you see it, with the issues of domestic work, from the time you were one to up to now?
Things are changing for the domestic workers who are willing and open for empowerment. And things are also changing for the employers, by the way. I appreciate when employers call me and they tell me, give me somebody who is trained. Because again, you know, our Kenyan families, we are busy people. Mothers are working, fathers are working. So do you even have time to come start training you? This is a TV, this is how we clean it. This is a sufuria, this is how we cook. No, so I appreciate that the clients also appreciate the fact that training really helps, and it also changes people. So yeah, some will just tell you, give me somebody who is trained. We'll work things out.
Yeah, there's a critical issue I've thought about personally. What about first aid?
First aid?
Yeah, because you know, like in terms of training.
Yes.
Because you know, we do get domestic workers in the house. If you have little children, they're mostly around them. What about basic first aid for, at least if something happened in that house?
That's a good question, and thank you. Maybe I didn't break down what the training is.
Yes.
In 2018, Kenya launched the curriculum for domestic workers. Probably you're not aware. It's called the Home Care Management course, a course for domestic workers, both who are working locally and the migrant workers. So this course has 3 units. There is home care itself, there is pre-departure, and there is life skills. For the local workers, we major in life skills and home care management. So under home care management, we have 7 sub-units. Number 1 being housekeeping, everything cleaning. Number 2 is laundry work, everything washing, ironing, cleaning shoes. And then we have childcare, everything a baby, feeding, bathing, dressing, first aid will come in there. And then we have basic cookery, so that at least you get somebody who can give you some good basic meals. And then we have household waste disposal. We have basic home nursing, and then we have pet care for those people who are in love with pets. They keep to cats, to dogs, And then on top of that, life skills is mandatory. Life skills is now when we are talking about your rights as a worker and your employer's rights. We're talking about how communication skills, personal hygiene, some little bit of entrepreneurship skills, because we are assuming maybe you want to start something in the future.
But this is not the end of it.
This is not the end of it all. It's just a stepping stone. It's just a stepping ground. And also there's a lot of now first aid again in life skills. What happens when the baby is choked? What happens when they get burned? What happens when they maybe put something in their ears? What happens when maybe they cut themselves?
Or there's a fire in the house.
There's fire in the house. How do you go about it? So all that they're trained in. And that course takes 120 hours for the complete course. It has to be 120 hours.
Yeah, for somebody who's listening and wants to do that, how much do they pay for that?
For that course, we are good people. We understand where you're coming from. The course takes is 10,000 shillings. If you're coming to our partner training institution, which is based in Githurai 45, we offer accommodation. So there you will be accommodated for a period of 1 month, going through training. And intense practical, because home care is about practical.
So practical ni hapo ama mna?
Ni hapo. I think you should come there. We have a full modern house there.
I'd love to.
Yeah, please visit.
It'd be good to know and see,
please visit.
This is what's
it's very important. And I also like taking my clients around so that they get idea of what we're training these workers. So you'll be accommodated there for 1 month and then you train. So but sometimes we understand that Levi, where you're coming from, getting that 1,000 is just something, that 10,000 is difficult.
I was about to
so
ask
how about come with something small, even if it's 1,000? Let us
because most people who are coming to domestic work,
they can't trace that.
Ni mwisho.
Yeah, ni mwisho. Mwisho wa reli kabisa.
So like wacha nitafute tu.
So we allow you actually to train, finish training, get your job, and then on that day now when you have gotten a job, again we are sitting down with you and your employer. Now Levi, you will be earning maybe 15,000. Remember you have our school fees of 10,000. So how much are you willing to be paying back until you finish? So we make that arrangement, the payback system, that's how we call it.
Yeah.
So you can take your 2-3 months, pay back, finish, and then collect your certificate. We have internal certificate, and still if you want to have a NITA certificate.
I was about to ask, is it certifiable?
It is by NITA. So you can register with NITA, do the exam, and then you get certified.
It's actually good for your CV.
It is very good, very good. I think it's the best thing for domestic workers, and it's the best thing even for the employers, the Kenyan employers. That is what we all need.
Yeah.
Yes. Because again, I know there's a pain of you paying that minimum wage for somebody who umemtoa tu ushago. They know nothing. That's why we are saying, let us professionalize this thing. Let us put skills on it.
But this is the starting point. So what would be the ideal in terms of how we treat our domestic workers when we look at other countries? What do you think is the benchmark we should be looking at?
Looking at other countries, I think, okay, even some other African countries, and we've seen other East African community women running away from their countries, coming to work to Kenya because of...
We have a lot of EAC member states here now.
A lot of them.
They're in our vinyozis.
Yes, a lot.
Our homes.
A lot of them. So what personally and what we are looking at is for the day that our government will ratify the ILO C-189 that addresses the issues and rights of domestic workers. You know, in Kenya, domestic workers, they are treated by the law and even the constitution like any other employer. So there are no specific laws that regulates this, that governs the domestic work. Yeah. But again, we also have to put in mind that domestic work, again, it cannot be just like any other job because we find it so intimate, Levi. You are living in the same house with your employer, breathing the same air.
Yeah. You get to know me in a way nobody in the office
Exactly.
does. Yeah.
In a way even that maybe even your brother, your sister does not even know you, you see. So putting all those factors together.
You're coming into my personal space.
Personal space.
Yeah.
And putting those aspects together, we feel like the ILO C-189 will be the best thing in Kenya. It lays down the standards that, and it's actually a global thing, though so few countries in Africa will ratify, and we are hoping that we can also get to that point where we ratify this. Yeah. I think it will be a good start for us a good point for us to start addressing the issues of domestic workers.
Yeah, and that gives a lot of food for thought because you know, if you look at it from just the perception that this person is the one who really gets to know your stuff.
They do.
Your dealings, your moods, your comings in and your going out, maybe even intimate conversations.
Exactly.
It sounds ridiculous to pay them 2,000 bob.
It does.
Because for 3,000 bob, I can get all that information.
Yes.
I just need to,
add you add something 500 on top of 1,000, and then you get everything you want. Yes.
Yeah, but we take it so a bit so lightly.
So lightly, yeah. And then there's another issue, Levi, that I think Kenyans will also need to address is the issue of privacy for domestic workers. Yes, I'm living in your house. You've given me a room, but I have a right to my privacy. So if you're giving me my room, please don't go pulling off the locks so that you can be entering anytime you want.
That happens?
Yeah, that one happens. So please give them their privacy because it's their right.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things many households are doing with the domestic work is that, you know, because when they don't have a contract, the worker comes in and then they confiscate the ID. What would you say about that?
It is wrong, even by the law. Does the employer keep your original documents?
They say it's a safety measure.
No, take a copy. Yeah.
Tell them what would
employers, let's have the habit of keeping a copy. Because by you keeping the original, does it keep them away from doing whatever they want to do? Someone will just do, if it's a wrong person, a bad person, they'll just do what they're doing and go. So please have that habit of keeping a copy. And by the way, again, it's against the law. If you, the employer, Levi, today you have a domestic worker and you don't have those documents, employment documents, you're supposed to keep them in terms of their personal documents like copies of their IDs. You're supposed to keep copies of their leave off sheets, if there was any sick of, all those documents, just the same way that the office
And a
setup
copy
does
of the
it.
contracts.
Copy of a contract. You, the employer, in fact, you keep the original. They keep the copy. They keep the copy. You keep the original. Yes. So that is what we do. So for us, we say, when you come to us after the interview, we make copies so that you have yours, she has hers for the contract. And then on top, for yours, I'll add you the, if you need the recommendation letter, I'll add it there. If the ID, copy of ID is a must, and maybe if there are papers for education, academic papers, I'll add for you, so that you don't go taking their personal, their original ID cards. Yeah, it's wrong.
You do due diligence, like you go into the background and find out where they come from.
Yes, we do that. What we do, CDTD works with our community mobilizers across the nation. So these are the people based Ushago. They know this area, they know this person. So when they're bringing in somebody, they're bringing in somebody that they know. Somebody that I'll call them and we'll say, by the way, who is Mama so-and-so, what is her name? And then you, as you're coming in again, we are going to go through that, check your ID. We are going to take some, there's a routine checkup we do, questions we do. And then I'm going to need next of kin contacts that I'll call when you don't even expect, just to verify. So I'm having Levi here. Who is he to you? Maybe.
Oh, you're checking also the employer?
No, not the employer. You gave me next of kin contacts. You now the worker. Maybe you told me this is my mother or this is my sister.
Yeah.
I'll just call randomly. You wouldn't even expect I'll do that. Yeah, but I'll do
Just to verify.
To verify and confirm, yeah, it's true. So again, for maybe these younger ones, we'd want to know, you as a parent, I'm the oldest sister, do you know where she is? Did she tell you where she was going to? Because there are those cases of people running away and finding jobs and they are not even known where they are. So we also want to know, like, do your people know where you are? Ama, you just ran away. Maybe ukabandon hapo mtoto mchanga without telling anybody anything. So we want to know much about you.
Much about, yeah. I feel like this is a conversation that could go on, and here we are, just 3 minutes to time.
Oh, really?
So maybe those 2 or so minutes remaining, please talk to the people at home who have heard about this. What would you like them to take away this morning?
For the employers, what I would like you to take away is that domestic workers are people like me and you. They deserve better. Let us treat them better and let us embrace this professionalizing of domestic work, because I know that one will really save. It will save all of us. And for the workers, please get empowered. Get the skills you need. Know your rights, know your employer's rights. That way, at least there will be a balance. There won't be so much struggle. So please make a point of getting these skills, make a point of professionalizing your craft in domestic work. Either way, it is a very good job. And if we all can get to a point of respecting it and treating it as any other profession, then we'll be at a better place.
Right. Irene Lima from the Center for Domestic Training Development. We look forward to coming on site.
Please do. You're much welcome.
And seeing what you do out there. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you, too. It was
Very
a pleasure.
eye-opening. That's 59 minutes for today. God bless you. Stay tuned for Leah coming up with the lawsuit. See you tomorrow, God willing.